that that didn't work out. I bought a whole blowtorch. I'm gonna use it. Look at that! Look! Oh! Hey everybody, my name's Jay, and a few weeks ago, I made this ball out of a roll of aluminum foil. Then I started wondering, can I add different metal foils? What would that look like? Probably look like some Damascus. So I ordered these. We have copper, brass, and nickel. I'm going to try to layer these in with the aluminum, and hopefully we can get a Damascus pattern. Will this work? I don't even know, but we're going to learn today, with the first step being how to ball all this up so the layers show. And since these are 20 bucks a piece, we're going to test with some construction paper. The foil rolls are 4 inches wide, so I cut the paper to match that. And I make a set of 4x4 square pieces and a set of 4x6 pieces as well. First pattern I tried was a money roll type one with the goal of flouring out the ends to make a sphere. This didn't really work out the way I thought it would, so I moved on to making a long rope and folding it up. Alright, so I tried several different techniques, patterns, whatever you want to call it. And what I landed on is taking all the 4-inch pieces and rolling it into a long snake, doubling it over again, and balling it up. And you'll get something sort of like this. I think that'll be a cool pattern. We'll have to see with the finished product. But what I did learn is that 4 inches is plenty. Sometimes it's too much. Don't let anyone ever tell you. Now let's see how foil-like this metal actually is. The first thing I'm noticing is that the zinc is very, very dense. The brass feels the most like the aluminum foil, but also very brittle and sounds like plastic. And the copper, that just doesn't want to lay flat. Okay, now that we have all the foil cut up, I have some scrap pieces here for the brass, the copper, and the nickel. And I figured we'd do a quick crumple test on the extra pieces just to see how feasible this is going to be to get into a ball. So here's the copper. Yeah, that should be fine. The brass really surprised me with how thin it is. It's about the thinnest thing next to the actual aluminum foil. So this should crumple with no problem. Feels very plasticky. So I'm not sure how much that's gonna compact. But that's what this whole project's about. It's figuring things out. But what is surprising is the nickel. Not only how thick it is, but the fact that it's fairly solid, but it's bending pretty easy. So I think this will actually compact the best, but I'm not sure if it's going to turn brittle. Let's crumple it up. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you can't really ball that up as much as fold it, so that's going to take some persuasion with a hammer. But for now, we're going to get these cleaned up, and then we're going to start making that metal rope. I wipe down the pieces front and back with some rubbing alcohol, and then I give a light sanding with a 400 grit sanding stick to hopefully help with cohesion when we start hammering. And then I take all of that and do what I did with the paper, make it into a long rope and ball it up as tight as I can. Now that I have the ropes made, I use pliers to secure the ends together and give it a good twist before forming the ball. After a few hits with the hammer, it becomes obvious this doesn't have the structural integrity to compact the way it needs to. I have a big hammer, so that means I can hit it and try to force it to do what I want. That didn't work out. I managed to make metallic confetti. Nothing bonded together, and everything just kind of started flaking apart. I think the differences in the layers of foil is what made it harden and crack without bonding to each other. So what I did was I ordered the thinnest copper foil I could find, because it seemed like the aluminum and the copper were bonding somewhat together. That'll be here in a couple days, so we'll just have to wait and try it again with just aluminum and copper, and we will see what happens. Oh, as an afterthought that I just had, instead of trying to twist them together and form a ball with a lot of air, I'm gonna lay the layers on top of each other and ball it all up like that. And then hopefully you can see both of the metals after I start sanding and finishing. All right, so it's been a few days. I just got back from the gym and I got the copper foil. It was sitting on my front porch. I know it was smashed in from shipping, but you know, what can you do? Good thing we're just gonna ball it. We're just gonna ball it up. So it being smashed all to hell doesn't really matter that much. All right, let's start by getting this out of here. Temp 1, copper, aluminum. With this, I start from scratch and I make a new ball and I hammer it until the whole thing's solid. All right, so here, kind of get it in focus. There we go. So it's starting to come along pretty well. Took about an hour to hammer or so. I still have these little flips right here, but when I did this last time with the all aluminum ball, these started to sand off and it became one solid piece, which is what I'm hoping for this time. I would like to try to get this a little bit more rounder. You can see it's starting to crack the more that I hammer it. So I'm kind of stuck with what I got, which it's a bit rough. So I am gonna sand it to try to clean it up, but I think the roughness is gonna work to our advantage. So for sanding, I'm using 10 different grits ranging from 220 to 2500. All right, so here we go. This is after about 45 minutes of sanding, and it turned out about how I thought, with some copper on it, with some aluminum shining through. But in the spirit of Damascus, I'm not going to try to polish it. I am going to soak it in acid. In this case, it'll be vinegar with some salt. Before I toss this in here, I'm taking some of the scraps that I have, and I'm gonna put those in a vinegar bath overnight and check it before I go to work in the morning. Once we see what the results are, then I'll know if that's what I'm gonna be doing. So I let the copper soak overnight in vinegar and salt to see if it would do anything. And when I got home from work, it did absolutely nothing. I did some research online and I'm gonna go with a different look, and I'm gonna try to patina the copper with coating it in salt and letting it set in ammonia fumes. I'm gonna let that set overnight and we're gonna see how that goes. Honestly, the most difficult part about setting this up was figuring out a way to hold something round in that container that would be stable. Okay, so it's been a few days and this has been setting for Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's Saturday. This has been setting for about 4 days, and as you can tell, it's nowhere near what I thought it would be. This actually looks pretty bad. Not what I had in mind at all. Try one more thing. Now we're gonna get this sanded up, back to baseline, then I'm gonna hit it with a torch, and that'll be the last thing I try. So I just got done sanding this up, and honestly, it didn't turn out that bad. You can see we got the focus on there. It actually looks pretty cool between the dark spots of the copper that I couldn't sand, the bright spots in the aluminum. This is more of what I had in mind from the beginning. I could just leave it like this, but I bought a whole blowtorch. I'm gonna use it. Look at that! Look! Oh! All right, so I got it done, and it's looking good. I am super happy with how this looks so far, but we're gonna let this cool down for a couple hours, and then we'll check it out. As you can see, once it cooled down, most of the color is gone, and it's covered in soot. I tried cleaning that up off camera with a rag, but it was taking all the colors off of it, so I stopped that and decided to just seal up everything in a layer of clear coat. Since it was just one layer, I opened a window and sprayed it into a box, but don't be lazy like me. Take it outside. I had a headache for a couple hours afterwards. Well, this was an experience. I ended up spending over twice what I planned on between the extra foil, a torch, and ammonia, and all the odds and ends to go with those. But I learned a lot. Twisting all that foil up the way I did won't work and will never work the way a ball will, because you need the force to be contained when you hit it. With the ball, all of it's directed inwards, and the way I tried it, the force went outwards because it wasn't a tightly packed ball. Copper and aluminum attempt worked because it was. Another thing I learned was that the ammonia fume patina works on pure copper. This was a 50-50 mix, so that's probably why it failed. And the last thing is, foils don't act the way a solid piece of metal would. When I was torching that thing, I could see the aluminum bits being burned off as the copper parts were heating up. It worked somewhat, but not as well as if it was a solid piece. And on that note, the ball was hot. The different purples and blues showed really well, but after it cooled, all of it basically just went away. Maybe I didn't do it enough, or maybe it just won't work with the mix of metals. I'll figure that out at another time, but for now, thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one.